So please excuse the my horrible memory with names. But somebody brought up that they didn't think that Adam existed, or Noah, or Abraham. I actually think that all those people existed, especially Abraham. I did for a while think, nah, the first 10 chapters of Genesis are mythological. They are, in a sense, but no, they all happened. The planetary flood idea, it's just like 40 days and 40 nights. Or it was 40 years. 40 means a lot. Means many. Means a ton. When you say 40 days or 40 nights, it's like a million years. Oh, it's taking a million years. Not supposed to be taken literally. And if you've ever dealt with any people from the Middle East or the Mediterranean region, hyperbole is the name of the game. All of the earth, all flesh, the wording, like kol earths, all earth, kol adam, all mankind, or all flesh. And just like cosmos can mean the entire universe, can mean the planet Earth, can mean a city, it can mean a town, it can mean a continent, it can mean a race of people. And race, again, in the past, sometimes meant your religious group or your ancestry, not the modern day color of your skin. So again, the idea of a global flood that killed every animal on Earth except for the sea-dwelling animals. No, I mean, you could believe that. It wouldn't be heresy, but the Bible never teaches that. And there's plenty of church fathers that talk about this. This is not something that arose out of the Enlightenment or something like that, of, oh, well, it couldn't be a planetary-wide flood. Where did Cain's wife come from? Now, this is the biggest problem with literalists. And literalists come from two camps. And I'm not accusing the person that says they don't think Adam was a real person. Fine. The literalists come from two camps: the anti-Christian atheists and the fundamentalists. Now, if people think the Bible was doctored or changed or anything, why wouldn't that be the first thing? Why wouldn't, to actually correct that? Nobody in any of the manuscripts does it. No, because Adam was the federal head of mankind, just as Christ is the second Adam and is the federal head of all mankind, of the church. The Garden of Eden, it's strange that two rivers were mentioned, and it's at the headwaters. Well, headwaters, wait, the Tigris and Euphrates don't start in the same place, but they end up, and we can see from satellite imagery that there were wadis there. There's 2 other rivers that disappeared about 10,000 years ago. I mean, people try to say, oh, these flood stories and creation accounts, these come from Babylon. No, the texts of the story of Genesis, the story that's recorded in Genesis, I'm positive is far older than the stuff that's coming out of Sumer and Akkad, even though they had a memory of it. But in the time of the Ice Age, the Persian Gulf, that's where the location of the Garden of Eden was at, right? And even the term paradise means walled garden, right? And you had these 4 rivers, 2 of which disappeared between 15 and 8,000 years ago. Well, at least one hasn't existed for like 11,000 years, the one that ran through Arabia. Strange that people would know that. And yeah, I do believe in documentary hypothesis. I also believe the Bible is inspired. That does not mean dictation. I don't know when Western Christians, or I should say Protestants, say the Bible's inspired by God, half the time they're talking about letterism or dictation like the Quran, and it's lunacy. But no, God communicating with man made sure that he could understand the Bible, or understand his meaning, his will, in every single generation of humans. I mean, he could have beamed all scientific fact into people's heads and not dealt with them in the society in which they were living, which would have been totally useless, and still the gap between the infinite and man's finite physical brain would be, it wouldn't close the gap at all. That's why when people bring up things like, well, what about slavery? Well, the Bible actually limits the hell out of slavery, doesn't endorse chattel slavery. And the New Testament, Christianity obliterates slavery. The only mention of slavery is if you are a slave, being the best example for Christians. And we see when Perpetua and Felicity were murdered or martyred in the beginning of the 2nd century. Perpetua was a noblewoman, the daughter of a very high-ranking Roman, and Felicity was a slave, and they were both equal in the church. So they're Abraham, Noah, and Adam, I do believe existed. Adam is a symbol for probably the first man hominid with the noose, right? And also an actual man who's federal headship of mankind. Noah, progenitor of these peoples of the Middle East, father of the direct ancestor to the entirety of humankind. No, but representative of his time, of the agreement between God and man. And it even says, before the flood even comes, God promises that he will never cover the earth in water like he did in the beginning. General Han Solo covers this much better than I'm doing right now. But it amazes me the complexity and how much more you can find in the Bible, in the many layers of it. This is why the literalism of Protestantism, especially the evangelicals, seems to strip the hell out of any deeper meaning that Scripture can give you. It's just like when they look at First John, or the Gospel of John, chapter 1, verse 1, and they see, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. And then they move on. It's like, whoa, you know that thing translated as Word? That's Logos. It means a hell of a lot more than Word. And they think he's like the Bible incarnate or something, and they just move along. Or that the Bible is, it's just really strange. But yeah, the Genesis is extremely interesting because it's talking about historical stuff, right? And then it has that layer of humanity in it, from various perspectives, but it also is imbued with this very spiritual, eternal quality where every generation you can get it. You can receive stuff out of it. And yes, I do believe the Ark, Noah's Ark, was a prototype for the church and Christ, and so was Adam. And that the main function of all of the Old Testament is to point towards Christ, and that's where everything begins. It's where my faith actually begins, in my religion. And that the Ark of the Covenant and the Theotokos, Virgin Mary, that those are you can interchangeably speak about those two things, because the Ark was just a foreshadowing for the Virgin Mary. All right, peace to you. And I'm not trying to give anybody, I'm just trying to explain my position. I'm not trying to say you're wrong or I'm right or anything like that. All right, peace to you. Just maybe a broader view. I'm always appreciative of people's comments.